Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the Trusted Media Summit's Lightning Talk series. Today, we have Adesire May and Taryn Corey to share about What's Crap on WhatsApp, a podcast they both co-host with the goal of debunking misinfo on WhatsApp. So Taryn is the head of podcast production from Volume, and Taryn is the data and project researcher from Africa Check. So a little bit of housekeeping rules. Since this is a half-hour session, we will have both of them present first, and then we will also be taking questions in the Ask the questions tab. So basically, you can, as they are presenting, you can also put in your questions in the Ask the Questions tab, and feel free to type there. And on that note, I will let both of them take the stage. Thank you so much.
Thanks, and hi, everyone. Today, Andisiwe and I will be speaking a little bit more about What's Crap on WhatsApp, which is fact-checking voice note on the instant messaging platform of WhatsApp. So how What's Crap on WhatsApp started is in Africa Check and Volume partnered in 2019 to create a new innovative approach to podcasting with the goal of debunking misinformation on WhatsApp. So the reason we thought this was a great idea at the time is because it's easy for third-party fact checkers to fact check on other social media platforms that are a bit more open, whereas WhatsApp is more end-to-end encrypted. So it's difficult to see what type of misinformation does the rounds on WhatsApp, the potential harm it has, and what information people are sharing. So we just thought it was a new innovative approach to fact checking with as well as podcasting on the platform. So as I said, What's Crap on WhatsApp is a short fact-checking voice note show that debunks the crap shared on WhatsApp, whether that be crap from your friends and family or craps in WhatsApp groups. In 2019, we started with a few hundred subscribers, but that number has grown exponentially and is now in the 5,000 range. I'm just going to speak through how it works if you're a subscriber. So we have over 5,000 subscribers, as I said, and they're spread out on 20 different broadcast lists. So the reason why we use broadcast lists instead of broadcast groups is because they're easier to send out content, but they also provide more privacy for our subscribers. When you're part of a broadcast list, other subscribers are not able to see your number or your information. So it gives more privacy. You just receive the content. And the reason why there's 20 different broadcast lists is because WhatsApp only allows 256 people per broadcast list. So we have to split it out through 20 different broadcast lists. But each broadcast list receives the same content, which is the voice note show every second Friday, which means it's sent out twice a month. So on the left of the screen, you'll see an example of the voice note that goes out. It's a picture with the 4 claims that we debunk, which I'll get to in a moment why we choose those 4 claims, as well as the voice note. And our subscribers also receive the tips of the week, which is on the right. So that's just a tip based on the main claim, which is normally the first claim in the voice note. And this will just be a tip on how to debunk that type of claim. So if it's about a scam, we might give some tips on how to avoid being scammed or how to look out for a scam. So I'm just going to go through how and why we choose these claims for the voice notes. So like I said, 4 claims are chosen for the voice note, and these bi-monthly voice notes claims are chosen based on 2 things, and that's claims that have been widely sent to us on WhatsApp. We find that if subscribers send us the same claim, but it's multiple subscribers sending it, we can see that it's doing the rounds on WhatsApp. So it's most likely something that our subscribers would want different. And since we can see the types of claims that have been doing the rounds on WhatsApp because our subscribers are sending them to us, we also look for claims that Africa Check has recently fact-checked that we would think would be interesting for our subscribers in a WhatsApp debunk. We also do deep dive episodes. These are every 6 episode is a deep dive episode. It's chosen based on longer reports that Africa Check does on trending topics at the time in South Africa. So for example, one of our recent deep dives was about the electricity crisis that is load shedding in South Africa. We find that our subscribers do enjoy quicker debunks of widely shared claims in formal voice notes, but they also enjoy every now and then, like I said, every 6th episode, a longer debunk of a bigger topic that might be doing the rounds in the country. So I'm just going to hand over to my colleague Andisiwe now, and she's going to give you a bit about how the production of What's Crap on WhatsApp works.
Thank you, Taryn. So this is an overview of what the production process looks like for What's Crap on WhatsApp, as well as any other podcasts that we create at Volume. Taryn has already touched on the planning and the scripting stages, which are the first two steps. So in the next couple of slides, I will be explaining the production process from the recording aspect going down. So in the next slide, you'll see that we arrange a time. So once the script has been completed, Taryn mentioned what the process that goes into choosing claims for each episode. Once Africa Check has completed the script, they send that to us, and then we proofread and we give the go-ahead for recording. And then the next step would be Taryn and I arranging a time for us to record. And because we are working remotely in different countries at the moment, we record completely remotely. And this setup works for us and for the specific podcast. And then after recording, we then go into the editing stage, but I just wanted to give you guys an example of what our remote setup looks like currently. The first two pictures on the left, that is just my setup. I currently use the Scarlett audio interface, the headphones that I'm currently wearing now, a pop filter, and a mic. And then Taryn on her side uses Samsung microphone with a cable. You'll see there's a picture of her sitting down that she sent to me so that I can share with you guys. And then she also uses earphones. There's a microphone stand. And then for rainy days where, either our setups are not working, she also has a Type-C USB adapter that she will then plug into a phone. And this is just an example, like other pictures are an example of times where we've had to use different equipment for different reasons. So you have to learn to be flexible. At times we use our phones, and at times we use the actual recording setup material that you see on the screen. So once we're done with recording, like I said, we're going to the editing stage. So this stage is equally as important as the recording stage. So we use a platform called Adobe Audition where we edit for the episode. Once we have an episode, which our current producer on the series of What's Crap on WhatsApp is Amina Deka Asma. She edits the episode and then she sends it to us, a first edit. What we call it, we give feedback internally at Volume, fix any errors, and then we send it off to Africa Check to also have a listen and tell us, what they think about it, if there's any feedback. And then we go into the publishing stage. But I just have an example in the next slide of the platform that we use. So we currently use Adobe Audition to both edit and master episodes. But there are free platforms that one can start out with, like Audacity, if you want to, get into editing of your own podcasts. And then the final stage on the production process is the distribution. So as much detail that we pay into the first 5 steps, this is also equally as important because this is us sharing each episode with the audience, right? So Taryn mentioned that WCW or What's Crap on WhatsApp exists as a voice note that is shared on WhatsApp, but we also uploaded on a hosting platform to generate an RSS feed so that we can make it easily accessible on other podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple, but also so that it's easily shareable on social media. The next slide is just an example of the platform that we use that works for us. It's called Captivate. We pay about plus minus 250 Rand per month. But there are other platforms that you can use, such as Anchor, Iono, or AfriPods, etc. And so when you get to the process of uploading an episode on hosting platforms, of course, you need to have your podcasting title, which for us, it's What's Crap on WhatsApp, the artwork, which is the image that is there, a description of the show, and the trailer, because these are elements that you would need to have established in the first step of the production process so that you're able to then upload your podcast on a hosting platform. So Taryn is just going to touch on the WhatsApp distribution of What's Crap on WhatsApp.
Thanks, Andisiwe. So besides sending out stuff on WhatsApp, and as Andisiwe mentioned, on podcasting platforms, we also distribute some content on Twitter and Instagram. And this is just to get some social media going for the project. So on both Instagram and Twitter, we send out headliners. They're video versions of the podcast. And on Instagram, we're able to send out the entire podcast via this video. It just has a background picture and it plays the podcast. And on Twitter, we have to focus on the main claim, which is usually the first claim. And this is because of Twitter's cap of 2 minutes and 20 seconds on their platform. We also have the teaser, which goes out on Instagram. It's basically just a video letting people know on the Thursday before the voice note goes out on the Friday what's coming up on social media on Instagram. So if anyone wants to sign up, they can. If they want to catch it on Instagram through a headliner the next week, they can as well. The tips of the week, which I explained earlier, that goes out on WhatsApp, also goes out on Instagram, but instead of a longer post, it's a short post that people can swipe through. Same tips as are sent out on WhatsApp. We also have the quote of the week. This is just to remind people of this goes out the week after the voice note, and it's just to remind people of the claims that we previously checked. It's just a quote from the main claim of the voice note. And the FOMO graphic, which is one of my favorites, is just a fear of missing out graphic that lets people know the Monday after the voice note went out that if you're new to our Instagram and haven't subscribed to WhatsApp, it's not too late. You can subscribe and you can receive these from now on. So I'm just going to touch on a little bit about engaging with and increasing audiences. So how we engage with subscribers and how it's different to other podcasting type shows is that we directly answer our subscribers. We don't have a WhatsApp bot that's actively answering or that you have to prompt. We have a person sitting behind the phone answering subscribers. And we find this really does help because when people want something fact checked, we're either able to send them a fact check from Africa Check or another trustworthy fact checking organization, or we can just let them know that we received their claim and we will add it to our list of claims to consider checking if it's something that has not been checked right now or maybe cannot be checked right now. We also engage with our subscribers by encouraging them to fact check on their own. We've had a few subscribers ask us how they can maybe fact check on their own, and we've given them one of our guides. And we also let people know that they can send the fact check back to the person who sent them the claim. Often we have subscribers saying, my mom sent me this, is it true? So we'll send them the fact check back and then they're able to send it back to that person who sent them the claim. We increase our audience numbers by letting subscribers know that they can forward our contact to friends and family. At the end of the voice note, we just let them know that they can send the voice note or our number and get anyone to subscribe, because anyone can subscribe. It doesn't matter where you are, you can subscribe to What's Crap on WhatsApp. We also encourage our subscribers to forward the content they receive, so the voice notes or the tips of the week. I just encourage them to send that on to any groups that they might want to. We also increase our audience numbers by doing interviews of What's Crap on WhatsApp and training for journalists. Africa Check does training for journalists, and we speak about What's Crap on WhatsApp there and starting your own podcasting show. And then lastly, we also share the social media posts of What's Crap on WhatsApp social on our main platforms, which is the Volume and Africa Check social media accounts. So we've often gotten questions about whether there is impact and how can we see that there's impact. Since WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted, it's very difficult to see whether people are actually enjoying the show or downloading it or looking at it. So I've just put a few screenshots there for you to read of the fact that there is impact and we can see it through our subscribers. We've had people say that they're going to share this amongst their friends and they're good tips. We've also had people say that they're guilty of doing something we might have put in our tips or voice note to tell them not to do. And we've also had people ask us how they can go about fact checking something themselves instead of having to send it to us. So there is definitely impact. And this is just some of the examples of the type of impact that we see. But that's pretty much What's Crap on WhatsApp in a nutshell. If you are interested in subscribing to What's Crap on WhatsApp, you can save us as a contact in your phone and send us a message saying hello. give us your name and we'll add you to one of the broadcast lists. If you're interested in following us on our other social media platforms, we have a link bio there, which has all our platforms in one place, our social media, WhatsApp, podcasting platforms that you can follow us on. And if you're interested in starting your own fact-checking show, it's very simple and easy, and you don't need to be overly experienced to do it. And we've put together, Volume and Africa Check have put together a What's Crap on WhatsApp handbook, just noting how we do it, the type of podcasting equipment we've gotten, and some of the stuff that Andisiwe took us through earlier. But yeah, that's What's Crap on WhatsApp.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Taryn. Thank you so much, Andisiwe. I find that it's amazing what you guys are doing, especially, considering that the amount of misinformation and disinformation we've all been through, especially through the pandemic. I think the podcast came at the right time. And on that note, there's a couple of questions, and the first question I'll direct to, I think any one of you could take it, maybe Taryn. The first one is, do you get subscribers asking for specific claims to be featured on the voice note?
This is a great question because we have received some questions by subscribers asking if we could feature specific claims or even specific topics in the voice note. We've had a few subscribers ask us recently with the electricity crisis of load shedding. We've had subscribers ask us if we could feature something about load shedding and just go through the process of load shedding or claims around load shedding. And that's why we did a deep dive into it. But it's mainly, we also feature claims that we can see are sent to us quite a lot by different subscribers. So we can see that there's a pattern on the WhatsApp platform that those specific claims are doing the rounds.
Okay, that's good to know. And actually, this is the next question is related to that. So it's on, what about very viral but complicated and long claims? How do you fit longer claims, if any of them, into this 8-minute episode? Maybe both of you could just take one part of each.
I'll let Taryn speak to the scripting aspect, and then I'll just touch on the actual editing to get it to 8 minutes. Taryn, you can go for it.
Cool. So yes, with the claims, sometimes it's very difficult and you need to know where to cut information. Sometimes when you're putting together the script, you want to add as much information as possible so that you can make it easy for subscribers to understand what the claim's about, whether it's true or not, and the information behind why it's true or not. But I think it becomes a skill the more that you do it, that you know where to cut information. You might think a sentence is important, but when you cut it, you can see that it doesn't really make a difference to whether the verdict is true or false. So it's just about editing the script to make it fit within those 8-minute episodes. But I'll move on to Andisiwe now because I know that editing the script is sometimes a bit of a problem.
Yes, so as Taryn said, I think the more you do it, the more you know already from the scripting stage, from Africa Check side, if you write a script of 3 pages, that's plus or minus this many minutes. So from the scripting, it already gives us an overview of plus minus how long the episode will be. But once you get into the actual editing process, you cut out things like repetition, dead air, etc. So that helps to shorten the script or the episode to about 8 minutes. But the gist of it lies in the actual script itself. So because Africa Check and Volume have sort of mastered, I'll say, the process of scripting for each episode, whether it's the in-depth episodes where we focus on one topic and really delve into it, or if we are debunking 4 claims in the regular episodes, it had to take, mastering the process and seeing what we need to do where to make sure that we don't go overboard. But also we need to keep in mind that WhatsApp as a platform itself does have limitations when it comes to sharing audio. So part of that means that the script has to be concise, the editing has to be concise, and then the size of the audio needs to fit with WhatsApp's audio sharing limitations.
And on that note, there's also a continuation to that. So is there a particular reason why it's 7 to 8 minutes is the sweet spot for your voice notes, or is that due to what you mentioned just now?
I think it's definitely influenced by what I just mentioned, because when I'm sure Taryn can speak on it, when Africa Check puts together the script, they're not thinking it should be 7 minutes. So I think because we're used to putting together the script, most of the times the episode will come up from 6, anything to 8 minutes with the in-depth ones. But Taryn, please do comment and let us know.
So it's basically what Andisiwe was saying, is that we tend to put the script together and keep it to the same amount every time, because that's just a good indicator of where to stop or where to add more information. But there's also the thing of, we have to understand that not everyone has access to quality information. And some people rely on WhatsApp because it uses less data. And not a lot of people have access to a large amount of data or airtime. So we need to be conscious about how long we make the podcast, because you have to think about, one, would it be interesting for someone to listen for 30 minutes? And two, would it be data consuming to have a podcast which is 30 minutes and to share it on WhatsApp? But also the extra element of what Andisiwe was saying, that WhatsApp does have its limits. So eventually an audio becomes difficult to share to 20 different broadcast lists if we're making it too long.
Gotcha. So actually, we do have a different, but it's good to know now that there's a sweet spot to that. So there's another question now. So the third question is, of course, having a human respond directly to the audiences add a human touch that a chatbot doesn't have. But do you find this to be very resource and time consuming, since you have so many queries from your followers?
So I'll just speak from the point of actually answering subscribers. We do find that it takes a bit of time to answer subscribers, but we think that the benefit definitely outweighs this, because Africa Check takes the claims that are sent to us, and it takes the impact of how these claims, how they're doing the rounds on the WhatsApp platform. We have an impact section where we'll note the claims that are doing the rounds, we'll note their potential harm, the topic that it is, and how widely it's shared. And this can help us understand what type of information is doing the rounds. And there's no better way than to receiving that directly from the subscribers. I also find that it might be very helpful in helping people want to fact check on their own, because if you're sending it to a bot and possibly the bot can't answer you properly, you might be frustrated, and then you might end up sharing that claim without verifying it first because you're frustrated not getting an answer. So I think the benefit of having someone there answering subscribers when they can is helpful to fighting misinformation on WhatsApp. But you do need to know when to sort of cut your losses. So if a claim is not fact checkable, although you really want to help your subscriber and send them a fact check, sometimes you can't. And sometimes you have to know when to draw the line of sending back a fact check.
In cases like that, what do you do? Like when something is not fact checkable, do you tell them straight? Do you then somehow reply in a different manner as you would usually?
Yeah, so we have a direct response to our subscribers if we can't fact check their claim. What we normally do is send them a message saying, thank you for sending us this claim to fact check. We will definitely add it to our list of claims to consider checking and get one of our researchers to check it if they can. But in the meantime, here's a guide on fact checking. And we also let them know that this information is helpful to us understanding how misinformation does the rounds on WhatsApp.
Well, that's great. And actually, this next question is to both of you. Do you see that this format can be easily replicated elsewhere globally? And have you gotten feedback queries from fellow fact checkers on what they find difficult to launch a voice note format?
I'll take the first half of that question. Definitely, that's the reason why there's also access to the handbook that Taryn mentioned earlier, that sort of guides anyone who is interested and wants to start, a voice note fact-checking show. But I think from other, fact-checking organizations that I've interacted with, the one thing that sort of prohibits them from actually starting is the technical aspect of creating a show. So Taryn is from Africa Check. They are fact checkers. Africa's, one of Africa's largest and most influential fact-checking organizations. And then you have Volume, which is the podcast producers, right? And that's where we come in with the technical service of actually going into an audio editing software, putting the audio together, making sure that it's up to industry standards of audio content that you share out there before it reaches everyone. So I think one of the things that may, be a stumbling block may be the technical aspect of actually editing a show, a voice note show, but it doesn't have to be as technical as we do it. There are places that you can start in, which is what the handbook shows and guides, platforms where someone can teach themselves to do a basic edit of the intro, outro, the body, and a bit of music. So it is possible, but I think the one thing that usually a lot of people just, get blocked by is, I have the script, I have the content I want to talk about, but I don't know how to edit a podcast. So, yeah.
Yeah, and just to add on that, I completely agree with Andisiwe. I think the biggest difficulty people have is they think that they're not experienced enough or don't have a lot of money to start with, and they think it's going to be an extremely expensive adventure. And it definitely can be if you spend it on very high quality equipment. But in our handbook, you can see that you can start a WhatsApp fact-checking podcast show just by starting small and just starting to gain momentum, and from there you can build up on that. So I agree. And the question about, do we see this easily replicated globally? I definitely think that it can be replicated globally, because What's Crap on WhatsApp has mainly subscribers from South Africa, but we do have subscribers from other African countries, as well as out of Africa. We have a few subscribers. We can see with the country code of the number that we do have a few subscribers from like the UK and the US. So it's definitely something that people are into. It's just about taking the topics and making them more centered to where the podcasting show would be placed.
Great, and this would be this leads me nicely into the last question. So the last one is, how big is the team working on the podcast? And it's a long question. How do you work in advance and bank episodes or explainers, or do you look at what's trending and record it in the same day? So it's a two-parter.
So I'll start, and then I'll head on over to Andisiwe from her side. So I would say we're like a medium-sized team. Working on this. I'll let Andisiwe go through her side of the team at Volume. But at Africa Check, it's basically myself who records. We have a social media person named Laura, and we have our editors, Lee and Kaylee, who help us put through the script and look through if anything needs changing. So we're about like a medium-sized team. I'll let Andisiwe mention her team, and then I'll carry on with the rest of the question.
So we are a three-man team. I co-host with Taryn, and then we have Amina Deka Asma, which is our editor for the podcast, and then my colleague Roland Perold, who also just gives the final listen, because part of the process is you need to get feedback, so that your first listener is your team, and before it goes out to everyone else. So yes.
Yeah, and just the question about banking episodes and look at what's trending. So what we normally do is, if we get some claims on What's Crap on WhatsApp, we'll send them sort of to our team of researchers, see if anyone wants to pick that up to fact check. And then when we have fact check claims that subscribers have sent us, or as I said, some fact checks that we think our subscribers will be interested in, we'll take those fact checks that week and we'll put together a script from Africa Check's side. I'll get my editor to check it, and then we'll start doing some social media on it, and we'll get Laura, our social media person, to just do some social media on it. And once it's been checked by Kaylee, our editor for What's Crap, it then will move on to Volume to have a look from their side if they want to add anything or they need anything to be checked. And then from there, we'll record the week after. So what we normally do is prep these podcasts the week before they go out. and we do that on a base. We don't sort of bank episodes, so to speak, but we might bank some claims. So some interesting claims that we see this week, maybe there's 7 interesting claims, but we can only use 4. So we'll bank the rest maybe for the next podcast show if we think they're important or something that our subscribers would appreciate.
Makes sense, especially since certain claims gets repeated again and again and again. So that's it. Thank you so much, Taryn and Isiwe, for your time today for this lightning series. And stay tuned, everyone. There's going to be another talk coming in July. And the way you can find out for the what's coming up next for the Lightning Talk series is to just come back and visit the site. It should be up before July, the details to the upcoming talk. But yeah, thank you so much for both of you today for sharing on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.